With me today, I have the honor of having Betty Bridges. Betty, you're an actress. You're
Yes.
a manager.
Yes.
You teach actors.
Yes, I do.
And also, what projects have you done? What kind of movies?
Well, the last thing I just did was Two Broke Girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a grandmother whose granddaughter was graduating.
Oh, wonderful. And,
Yeah.
and your son, Todd Bridges, he is very well known for his role in Different Strokes.
Right.
He's currently doing great. He's in Las Vegas right now.
Right.
Doing a role over there.
He's hosting.
He's hosting, and he's. I know that you've gone through a lot of challenging times in your life.
True.
And growing up in the neighborhood that you were in, I mean, there were a lot of challenging times. It was a white neighborhood, and I mean that created a lot of stress then for you as a mother, and also for your son Todd.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, when we had decided to move to the valley because where we were living in Baldwin Hills,
Yeah.
it was kind of rough because to get into the house, it was rough because Todd was on Different Strokes and there'd be a lot of people out in front of the house. So even to just get your car into the garage was hard because they knew he lived there. So I said, we probably need to move to the valley, because people won't know us out there, And we did. We moved to the valley, and for a while there, we wanted to move out of the valley.
Because it was just a very stressful time, and
Well, it was the 80s.
Yeah.
It was the 80s, and in the 80s, I don't think the police department wanted Negroes, should I say, African Americans out there in the valley.
No.
They didn't want them there. No.
And how did they react to that?
Oh, terrible. They stopped my kids every day in their cars, give them tickets. It was horrible. And if a friend visited us that was African American, same thing.
Yeah.
They would do the exact same thing, give them tickets, unwarranted tickets.
Yeah. And how did that? How did Todd respond to that? I mean, how did that affect him?
Well, it started making him pretty nervous, and when I took him to see a psychiatrist, he said he was like a Vietnam vet.
Yeah.
They said he was had shell shock. And that. Every time he saw a cop, he would just start shaking and they're gonna bother me, Mom. They're gonna bother me. And sure enough, they'd pull him over. It was horrible. It was horrible, and that was every day. Every day, just about. He had $9,000 worth of tickets in 1 year.
That's insane. And here is somebody that was well beloved. I mean, we all loved the show. We all loved his character, and he's going through that type of persecution.
Yes, in the valley.
Yeah, and. Later on in his life, he was dealing with some really even more challenging times. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, he had been molested as a child, but I didn't know about that until he started going through all these other problems, and then he finally admitted it.
Yeah.
And I knew the person. It was his father's friend.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he came to the house, and Todd jumped on him one day, and I didn't know why Todd would jump on this guy, a grown man,
Yeah, exactly.
And I pulled Todd off him, and I said, "What happened?" And Todd told me what happened. That's when he finally said what had happened.
And how did his life change from those events? I mean, here's going through the persecution, having the molestations taking place.
It was enough to make anybody crazy.
Absolutely.
Really, it's enough to make anybody crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's how when he started to use the drugs.
Okay. And how, as a mother, seeing that transformation, you have this wonderful, sweet child.
It was awful.
And yeah.
To see that, it was awful. It really was.
And to what point, what were some of the turning points in that whole process?
Well, I'm a very religious person.
Yeah.
And I prayed. One night I just sat in my bed. 3 of my friends that were visiting because they wanted to pray with me for Todd,
Yeah.
And I sat up in my bed. I crossed my legs, like they do in the lotus position.
Yeah.
And I started praying to God, and I started crying. Tears of pain were coming out of me. And I just asked God to help me. Please help me. He says he wants to quit drugs, but he still won't quit. No. I said, I don't know why. Yeah. So for 3 nights in a row, I was woke up, and a voice said, turn the TV on. Yeah. Now, I think I'm going crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I flipped the TV on thinking maybe that was in my mind.
Yeah.
I flipped the TV on. It was on Bipolar Manic Depression.
Yes.
That didn't register then at all.
No.
So then The second night, same thing.
Oh, it was
Wake
the
up.
Same message.
Wake up, turn the TV on.
Yeah.
I turned the TV on. It was again on Manic Depression. So I'm still not getting it, right?
No.
It took the third time for it to say, but I was on a different channel then. I was flipping through, and there was a good movie on, so I stayed on the movie, and the voice said, turn. And I'm like, okay, turn. Okay, I turned, and it was a bipolar manic depression, and I said, oh,
Really?
I've been praying, and you told me now what it is.
Yeah.
So I said, he needs some help. I didn't know what to do, and this voice said, find a place for him to go.
Yeah.
Now, I don't even know where he is, so how am I going to find a place for him to go? I didn't know where he was.
No.
So I got on the phone, I started calling around all these different places, and everybody would say he has to walk in on his own. I said, how can he walk in on his own when I don't even know where he is to even make him walk in on his own, So what happened was I said, God, you know where he is. You know where he is. You got to find him. Yeah. I just started praying to God. You just got to find him. Yeah. And my friends thought I was going crazy. They said, what are you doing on that phone? Yeah. They said, Betty, it's 3 or 4 in the morning. What are you doing? I said, I'm calling to find a place for my son to go. Yeah. And they were like, but you don't even know where he is. I said, I know I don't, but I still have to find the place. Yeah. They said, she's lost it. Poor thing. They thought I was really nuts. I called Cedars-Sinai, and Cedars told me to put him in CPC hospital. Yeah. And I was like, I don't even know what CPC hospital was, but I said, well, let me call them. So I called them, and I told them that I have a son. They said, well, he has to walk in on his own. Yeah. But then they put this other guy on who was an older guy who had been, I guess, on drugs for almost 30 years, and he's been clean and sober 30 years. That's what it was. Yeah. Clean and sober 30 years, and he says, I told him what my son's name was, and he says, well, until he has to walk in on his own, or he has to be arrested, right? And so I started praying to God. I said, please, God, help me. I need help. You know where he is, but I don't, you know? Yeah. And so the next morning he was arrested, and I was jumping. My friends were like, girl, what's wrong with you? Your son's been arrested. I said, I know, but I know where he is. Thank you, Father. Thank you. My prayers are answered. And I went down. I called CPC hospital. The guy said, I will go with you down there to the courthouse to get him. He went with me. He knew the judge because the judge had been on alcohol. The judge had been an alcoholic, so they had gotten some judges who had problems like that, had gotten together and said they're going to help young people who are in trouble. They're going to help them to get clean. Yeah. So he went down. He knew the judge. The judge released Todd to him. Todd looked back at me, and he knew that I had something to do with it, right? He said, I know you had something to do with it. I hate you. I said, that's okay. It's okay. You can hate me, but you're going to get some help now. Yeah. Exactly. Right? Now, when I told CPC that Cedars is the one that told me to call them, they said, Cedars has the same program we have. Why would they have you? I said, I don't know. Yeah. They're the ones that told me to call you, and I did. Yeah. Yeah. And they're like, well, okay, but everything worked out. Todd got the therapist he needed. He got the help he needed for his drug addiction. Yeah. And the judge told him he had to stay in that place a year. Yeah. You got to stay a year. And I said, thank you, Father. So it was court ordered that he had to stay there for a year. A year. The judge said, young man, if I ever see you in this court again, these 2 words, 6 years. Yeah. That's what he said. Yeah. So Todd was able to, he said, you go home with this guy, and he's taking you right on over to the hospital. Yeah. And how did it go? I mean, to get off all the drugs and get off everything? They have a program there that had to be incredible, and had to be where God wanted him, because the problems that he had from being molested, he said in his mind, Mom, I kind of thought maybe I'm gay. I said, well, if you are, then you are, but I still love you, but the guy, his therapist was gay. Now, isn't that wonderful? His therapist was gay, and Todd was talking to him about it, and the therapist said, no, man, you're not gay. I'm gay. He said, you looking at every woman that walked past you, your head turned around like the Exorcist. So he said, no, you're not gay. No, he said, you're not gay. I am. And Todd cracked up. He said, Mom, I even have a gay therapist, and he told me I was not gay, and da-da-da-da-da. Affirmation, yeah, because he thought he was. He said, well, if I was molested, I must be. That's, a lot of babies think that, if they've been molested, they think that. Yeah. But he said I wasn't, so I guess I'm not. Yeah. What was I'm curious, what was the lowest of low through that whole process? I mean, I know when you reached out to God,
I mean, and saying, God help.
The
help
lowest of low was when a friend called me and saw my son at 65th Avenue in South Central. And she said, I know where he went. He went to some kind of raggedy house. He said, I could give you the address. So she gave me the address. And I went to get him because he had been missing for almost a month. And so I said, well, I'm going to get him. So I went down there, went into the drug houses, pushing people all out the way, looking for my son. But what had happened was one of Todd's friends that knew me said, your mom's on her way to get you, right? So he ran out to the next drug house down the street. And when I got in there pushing people out the way, they said, who is this crazy lady in here? I said, I'm looking for my son. Has anybody seen him? And the kid that knew me, he said, Miss Bridges, he ran. So he said he ran down the street. So I said, which way? He showed me which way. So I went to the next drug house. Boy, those drug houses are something else, man. Trash everywhere. Wasn't it scary? Looked like a junk. I'm not scared of anything. I have God in my, God is on me. I'm not scared. No, that doesn't bother my kids. Oh, I'll tell you a thing that happened with the drug thing. The drug addict, Todd had called me because Todd had given me some money. He said, Mom, do not let me have this money. I said, okay, you can't have it. I think it was something like $25,000, something like that. He said, don't let me have it. No matter if I beg you or get mad, don't let me have it. I said, okay, you know me. You're not going to get it. That's all. Exactly. So Todd called me and said, Mom, I need some of that money. I need $5,000. I said, nope, you can't have it. He said, Mom, I need it. I said, I don't care. You can't have it. So the drug dealer gets on. He says, I'm coming out there to get that money, and you better have it ready, right? I said, come on, I got something for you. Come on. Come on. So years later, when Todd was totally clean and sober stuff, I asked him about it. I said, you remember that time you called to get that money that you told me to save for you? I said, well, how come you guys didn't come? Because I was waiting for you. He said, I know. I told that drug dealer, I said, my mother has 22 guns of mine. And she is a crack shot. I'm not going out there. You want to go? You go. But you're a dead man. I can tell you that. But I'm not going. I'm not going. Because that's right. He was not allowed to have guns in his house after he had the problems, with the drug and stuff. He wasn't allowed to have guns in the house. So I had them. They were all under my bed. So I loaded everything up. I put all my little chairs from my tables, set them all out and loaded everything and put them all out there and sat by that door. And I did that for three solid days. I sat there waiting for him to come with the guns. And Todd said, I told him, my mother said she ain't scared of nobody but God. And plus, when his father left me for his secretary, because the secretary was the age of my daughter. And when she left me, Todd was angry, really angry with his father. He said, I'm going to kill him. And I said, oh yeah, let's go kill him. Come on, come go with me, right? I went to I said, come on. And he said, when I said, come on, let's go, the look on his face was like, really? Are you kidding me, Mom? I said, no, come on, let's go. Get in the car. I took him to the firing range. You know how they have the things that look like a man's figure? I said, now that's your dad. You shoot your dad, and I'm going to shoot your dad. And when I started shooting, I shot everything right in the same spot. Todd was like, Mom, how you learn to shoot like that? I said, my grandfather taught me to shoot when I was 9 years old. I said, so when I go to those firing rings the little places where you can shoot the water in the hole and the things rise up. I always beat people, because I'm like, perfect aim. And I had a lot of brothers growing up, and my grandfather said, he didn't even want me to go to the range with them because he said girls can't go, right? My mother said she goes everywhere the boys go. I was raised with 7 boys. She goes everywhere the boys go. So I went with him, right? And I was the one that was shooting everything off the thing, and the boys were, he said, boy, my grandbaby is so good, she can shoot everything. These boys don't know how to do this.
They don't know how to do that.
She shot baby, you're right. You're right to make me let her go with us,
Well, that drug dealer must have been a wise man not coming.
Well, Todd told him, man, my mother don't pray. I'm telling you, she don't play. She prays all the time. And she says she's scared of nobody but God. So I ain't going out there. You can go if you want, but I'm not going.
So when you're looking then for your son in these different crack houses, did you find him?
Never did find him. Never did. In fact, the found was when he was arrested, and I was jumping up and down that he was arrested. That's when the found was. Todd used to have a house full of people who were drugs and alcohol, just a lot of mess, And I would go over there, and I'd run them away. But you run them away, and as soon as I'm gone, they're right back.
Exactly.
So one day I just went home, and I had this hat. It was a big wide brim hat with a big veil that went down in the front.
Yeah.
And I dressed all in black. And now I have this dress that goes from here all the way to the floor just about.
Yeah.
And I put all that on, and I went and knocked on the door. And he opened the door and he went, well, why are you dressed like that? I said, oh, I need to talk to you.
Yeah.
So I went into the house.
Yeah.
And I stood there and looked at him. First of all, I said, I want all you guys to leave right now.
Yeah.
They're like, Todd, do we have to? My mother said leave. I guess you better. So I said, Todd, this is what I'm going to wear when you die.
Yeah.
When they call me on the phone and tell me you're dead,
Yeah.
this is what I'm wearing to your funeral.
Yeah.
And he said, ooh, he was like, Mom, that's terrible to say that to me. I said, but I need to say it.
Yeah.
I need to say that to you. So the next time I tried to come back to his house, he tried to nail me out.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you. He was tearing up his furniture, putting it over the windows and stuff, and nailing me out of the house.
Yeah.
He didn't want me to come in.
No. Well, see, he knew you meant the truth.
Mm-hmm. I said, when they call me and tell me you're dead,
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to wear this to your funeral.
Yeah. And what was fascinating to me is by you letting him know that, and those type of actions is, I mean, what I believe truly saved his life.
Mm-hmm. In the beginning, I was not doing the right thing. I was an enabler, and I didn't know that.
No.
But a girlfriend of mine, she told me, she said, Betty, you probably should go and take those classes. You know, you can go in there and they'll tell you all about drug addiction and all that stuff. I said, yeah, I should do that. And I did.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, oh my God, what you're doing is not helping him.
No.
You know, I was an enabler. Oh, save my son. Let me save my son.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't saving him. I was helping him to stay on drugs.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, though. Didn't know that.
When you say save my son, I mean, what are some of the actions, some examples?
Some examples were to make sure he didn't lose all of his money.
Yeah.
So keep his money away from him.
Yeah.
And another thing, if he got put in jail, run down there and get him out, you know.
Yeah.
After that, here's what I did. After I found out that everything I was doing was wrong,
Yeah.
what I did was this. He would call me, Mom, I got arrested again. You got to come down and get me out. I said, no, baby.
Yeah.
I love you very much, but I can't do that anymore.
No.
From now on, you're on your own.
Yeah.
He said that scared the living daylights out of him. He said, my mom's not going to help me? Yeah. So then when he would need a lawyer or something like that, he'd call me, Mom, you need to talk to Johnny Cochran or somebody because I need some help. And I said, you call Johnny Cochran, not me.
Yeah.
I said, oh, you're on your own now. I told you. I'm through.
Yeah.
I said, Mom, I love you. Mom loves you, but I can't help you anymore.
No.
And that's when finally I prayed to God and God told me what to do, and he got put in jail, and then he ended up at the place, and everything just after. And then he became a counselor. They put, you know, I thought he was going to go home after that year.
Yeah.
But there was an actor, two actors actually, but the youngest actor was this. I don't know if you guys remember the actor was real short when they were real tall when they were acting together.
Yes.
They wore cowboy hats.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, he went to Todd and he talked to him, and I've been saying, don't go back home.
Yeah.
I said, come and stay with me for a while. Don't go back home because that's your haunts. You know where those places are.
Exactly.
But this guy told him, Todd, don't go back home. He says, you know that area too well.
Yeah.
He says, go somewhere else. Go into what they call those homes when they, yeah, like they don't call them halfway anymore. They say something sober living.
Yeah.
Sober living.
Yeah.
They said, go to sober living. He says, stay there for a year. And he says, and I guarantee you, after you get out of there, you'll be much better off than going right home.
So he did a year then in the initial location,
and then
a year in the sober living.
and then a year in sober living.
Yeah.
And then he became counselor in sober living,
Yeah.
which was really good. And then he had nerve to be calling me, I am really mad at Michael because Michael went out and stayed out for 12 o'clock and then come in here high. I said, Todd, how many times did you do that when you were first trying to get sober? How many times did you do that before you're finally clean?
Yeah.
How many times? He goes, oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So I should give him another chance. Yes, you should. Give him another chance,
Yeah.
you know.
You should give somebody as many chances
That as you took.
Yeah,
That's exactly right. I said, remember, you weren't clean the first time either.
No.
He was like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and they really liked him. I remember once a phone rang, right?
Yeah.
And I picked the phone up the same time Todd did. Normally, if I see he's on there, it's for him. I hang it up. But it was a guy, so I thought it better not be a drug dealer or anything, right? So I'm listening. And this was a guy that Todd had helped in the sober living, and Todd was his counselor. And he said on the phone, he said, Todd, I want you to come to my house for a barbecue. My mom wants you to come. And he said to Todd, "This is the first time in 40 years that I've been clean and sober." And I tell everybody it's because of Todd Bridges, because he wouldn't let me lie to myself. He said every time I lied, he'd say, "Come on, man.
Yeah.
You know you're not telling the truth. Come on, tell the truth.
Yeah.
You can't get healthy until you tell the truth."
Yeah.
He said, "I had to do that. My mom made me tell the truth."
Yeah.
You know, I would just look and say, "Todd, now are you telling me the truth or not?"
Yeah.
You go, "All right, Mom," you know. But this guy, I started crying. I started crying on the phone because he said, "Because of you, Todd, I am clean and sober."
Yeah. Yeah.
40 years he had been on drugs.
Well, what an impact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he's helping. And Todd started, after that, he promised God that he would go around and talk to all kinds of children in different places, like the homes and things like that. He's done a lot of that. And I went to see him once, and I could not believe how brilliant he was. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I'm sitting there, tears rolling down my face. I'm like, I didn't know my son could do that.
No.
You know, he would tell those kids, he would say, "Now, if you just messing with drugs a little bit," he said, "go and tell your parents that you need help.
Yeah.
Get help now before you go too deep into it."
Exactly.
You know, Todd he was brilliant. I tell you, tears just started rolling down my eyes. I said, I can't believe he's so good.
Yeah.
You know, so he did that in Mexico. They had an interpreter for him in Mexico. Bermuda, they called him Bermuda, and all kinds of churches all up and down the coast. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I truly applaud you for the love and the courage that you had in order to be able to save your son. And yeah, obviously I know exactly.
God.
Yeah.
I really give all.
Allowing that power to be there.
Exactly.
That
Exactly.
is the key. Allowing
That
it
is
to
the
come
key.
in, and
That's it.
That is what helps to save your son.
Absolutely.
And all the people that he impacted after that. So,
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You are absolutely welcome.